Hi, my name is Julie Fei-Fan Balzer, and today I'm going to show you how to take one of the patterns in ScanNCut Canvas and transform it into a votive candle holder. So as you can see, I'm here at my computer and I'm looking at ScanNCut Canvas, and this is the wonderful gallery of Canvas projects that you can choose from. Now sometimes there's a project I like, or there's a cut file that I like in a project, but I don't want to make that exact project. So that's what this is. So there's one here called Bookmark, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the Bookmark file and it's going to bring it up. Now I have to do a little bit of ungrouping, and in order to do this, this is just a little trick we have to do for no reason at all. I actually have to send it to my machine and then I have to bring it back. And again, in order to do the ungrouping, this is just a little thing that we have to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send this file wirelessly on over to my ScanNCut machine. You can also do this just by downloading it and sending it to a USB file or anything like that. So I'll see you at the ScanNCut machine. So I'm back at the ScanNCut, and from the pattern screen, I'm going to choose the wireless option, and I'm going to go ahead and retrieve my file from ScanNCut Canvas. And then all I'm going to do now is simply save it wirelessly to ScanNCut Canvas. Once again, it'll say the save is successful, it'll tell me the project title, I say okay, and we're just going to go back to the computer. So I'm back at my computer and back at ScanNCut Canvas, and you want to make sure that you hit refresh in your browser so that you get that file that we just saved. And I know it seems like we didn't do a lot, but the problem is you can't ungroup the file unless you send it through your machine and then resave it as a new file. Silly, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. So I'm going to click on My Projects, and what I'll find when I click on that tab waiting for me is in fact the bookmark, and I'm going to click on the editing button, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to edit this file and turn it into our candle holder. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of that half of the bookmark. I'm going to select it and then hit the delete key to get rid of it. Then I'm going to go ahead and select the other half of the bookmark, and up under the editing screen I'm going to choose ungrouping, and then you can see these little blue dots come up all around the file. And that means that each of those parts are separate, because what I really want to do is I want to get rid of that little center dot, but I can't reach it because every time I try to click on it, I'm just getting the outline part. So I'm going to show you a trick, which is you can go ahead and click on that outside part or select it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look at the order that's right here under the edit menu, and I'm going to send that to the back. Okay, so now that piece is in the back of all the other pieces, which means when I go to grab this circle, boom, I'm able to go ahead and grab it and I can hit delete. So now I'm going to select all these parts one more time, and I'm going to go ahead up to the edit and I'm going to group it. So you're going to get used to grouping and ungrouping because we're about to do this a lot. So the first thing is I need to make 4 copies of this image without the dot. So I'm going to go to Edit, and under the Cut, Copy, Paste menu, you can see this little icon here, and it's the duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to duplicate again, and then I'm going to duplicate one more time. So now I have 4 of them. Now what I want to do is I want to carefully lay out the 4 pieces so that they slightly overlap, and the hope is that you can make it so that they slightly overlap the same amount. So they're about equidistant apart from each other. And then I'm going to select all 4 of them simply by dragging my mouse across them, and then under the edit menu I'm going to use the alignment tools to make sure that everything is horizontally aligned perfectly. Okay, once I'm sure that they're all horizontally aligned perfectly, I'm going to select the first one and I'm going to choose ungroup. And now you're probably wondering why I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do the same ungrouping to every single one of them. And the reason is because I want to weld just the outside, not the inside of them. And what I discovered through trial and error, and you don't have to do through trial and error because I'm telling you, is if you don't ungroup them, it will actually try to weld all of the pieces together and you'll lose the leaves. So now I'm just going to select the 2 outsides. I'm going to go up to the edit menu and I'm going to choose the weld, which is the first one right here. I'm going to click on that. Okay, and then I'm going to weld those parts, guess what, to the next part. I bet you can guess what's coming with the 4th part. If you said we're going to weld it, then you were right. So we're going to go ahead and select that and weld it, which you can see right there. But now, of course, I need to group all of this again so that it becomes one big piece. So now it's one big piece and I can move it. But here's the thing. If I'm going to fold this, I really need some perforation lines. Now, perforation lines are actually pretty easy to add. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right up here to the Path tool. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a dot right above the edge of that line. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and did you see how that just straightened out the line just like that, just by holding the shift key? When I press the shift key down, it makes the line straight, so then I put another dot down, okay, and then I'm going to double click on that dot, and this creates just a single line. And really the biggest, most important thing is I want to look at basically the properties of that line. So see this little thing that looks like three, I guess, lines together? That's the Show Properties button. I'm going to click on that. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to say that, see this dash pattern thing? I want to say that, yeah, that's a dash pattern. Now, which dash pattern you select is up to you, however you prefer your perforation, okay? I also want to make it slightly shorter than it is right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and manually shorten that size. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'm just dragging it down so that it's slightly shorter and just making sure that's really right in between the leaves where I want it, using all of the arrow keys. Then I'm going to go ahead to Edit, Duplicate. I'm going to get another one, which is perfect, just what I want. And when I see those four little crosses things show up of the arrows, then I know that it's okay to grab it. I'm going to drag it generally to the area I think, and then I'm going to use the arrow keys to fit it exactly where I want it to go. I find the arrow keys make things a lot easier to handle. And I'm going to go ahead and complete this process again. Oops. And see, I just made a mistake because I moved the outside instead of the line. So I'm just going to hit undo, which is Command Z, okay, on your keyboard. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab that piece. Oops, and I did it again. So let me show you a trick for that, because this happens sometimes, which is if you grab a hold of both the outside and that part, then you just hit the shift key and tap the outside again. What you'll be left with is you'll just be left with the dash, and then you can just go ahead and use the arrow keys. So this is one of the reasons I like to use the arrow keys, because I find sometimes with the mouse I have a trouble grabbing hold of everything that I want, and the arrow keys are extremely reliable. So then once this has been moved into place, okay, you can guess that what I want to do is I want to add a little tab, because if I were to fold these pieces up, there'd be no place for me to put my adhesive. So what I'm going to do is from the basic shapes over on the left side, I'm going to go ahead and grab a rectangle. You could grab any shape that you want. I just think a square or a rectangle makes the most sense. And so then I'm just going to go ahead and resize it, because really what I want it to be is a really, really narrow, skinny piece that just attaches right at the edge. So there's no specific size you need to make it. I just like to make it a little bit shorter and a little bit narrower, okay, and have it overlap a teeny bit. Now remember how we did all that ungrouping before? Well, we're going to have to do that one more time, because we're going to need to ungroup that big piece that you can see right there, so that again, when we try to weld, and I'm just going to grab a hold of only that rectangle we created and the big rectangle, those are the only two things I want to grab a hold of, and then I'm going to go ahead and weld them. Now that's attached. So now what I need to do, the last thing, is I need to go ahead and add one more perforation line. Oops, and I moved that, so I'm going to do Control Z. So I'm going to go ahead and do my trick that I showed you of selecting the two things and then holding down the shift key while I click on the outside. So once you've grabbed it, you're going to go ahead and follow the same process that we did before with duplicate. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use my arrow keys to zoom it on across here. You know, sometimes I think when you're having trouble grabbing a hold of a part or something like that, it helps when you zoom in, I found a lot, and it also helps just to be patient and to remember that the wonderful thing about a computer is that you can constantly undo if you're having an issue. So once that dashed line is in place, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it lines up. And of course, it's a little bit too long. So you know what we can do about that? We just go ahead and choose the Properties panel, and we can make it a little bit shorter. And again, using the arrow keys, just drop it into place. Okay, so once our file is complete, then I'm going to go ahead and select all the pieces simply by dragging across it. I'm going to go up to Edit. I'm going to hit Group. And once this is a single group, it means that I can resize it at will to any size I want my Votive candle holder to be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose Download. I have this fabulous file that is ready to cut, and I'm going to do the wireless ScanNCut transfer. That's the easiest for me. It's ready to go, so let's go back to the machine. So I'm back at the ScanNCut, and I'm just going to hit the home button, and I'm going to go back to the home screen. I'm going to choose pattern, again, wireless button, and I'm going to go ahead and retrieve, and there's the file that we just created. And I know that it's smaller than my piece of paper, so I don't have to scan anything in. Instead, I'm simply going to load my paper into the machine. And once it's loaded, I can simply say OK and cut and hit the start button. So I'm just going to unload the mat from the machine, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the pieces off the mat. So I'm going to go ahead and peel away the outside, and then I'm going to carefully pull off the piece that we've just cut, and it should come away pretty easily because those bits are all attached very securely. You just want to make sure that you don't rip any leaves off. And once that's done, you can see I have my pieces here. Now, all of these perforation lines are going to make it really easy for us to do our folds. So if you have a bone folder or a ruler or something like that, that also always makes your creases nice and tight. I'm just going to fold it, and then I'm going to use my thumb basically as a bone folder or a ruler to just go ahead and really reinforce that crease. And I'm going to do the same thing at all of these perforation points. Once that's done, I'm just straightening everything out to make sure everything's at a 90-degree angle. And once it looks good, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to apply a thin strip of adhesive right along that flap edge. Right there, that narrow little edge is just wide enough for a bit of adhesive to sit on. And then I'm going to go ahead and place it so that it's just inside and lines up. Take a minute to really make sure that you line it up perfectly, because that's the key to this looking like a beautiful cylinder. There you go. Or squarender, whatever that shape ends up being. Here you go. So there is your votive candle holder, and all it needs now is the votive candle. So now I have my votive candle holder, and all I need is my candle, and I'm just going to go ahead and place that right in. Look how beautiful that is, perfect for a centerpiece for any event. Thanks so much for watching, and one quick safety note, which is of course you'll notice that I am using an electric or a LED candle here. I'm not using a real one because this is paper and safety first. So if you would like to see more tips, tricks, and tutorials, do visit my blog at balzerdesigns.typepad.com and of course the ScanNCut website at scanncut.com.